I've got 4 kids from elementary school through college. I've got a mortgage. In my company, I'm a leader. We're continually striving to innovate. The way I define a leader is someone who wants to have a positive impact on their system, whether it's a department, division, company, or their community. And in my company, I choose to be a leader. I choose to take some responsibility to step outside of the box to improve our system. Now, my first teacher in this was Chantal, the Princess of the Diamond Mines. It was 1980. I had gone to Lubumbashi, Zaire, because I wanted to meet a silverback gorilla face to face. The only trouble was there was no connecting flight from Lubumbashi to Kivu, and it was hundreds of miles away, so I could spend a week in the back of a truck. Or if I got lucky, I could find a small Cessna, someone that could fly us directly into the gorillas in the midst jungle. My friend Basil, my Egyptian buddy I was traveling with, could speak 5 languages, so he departed in pursuit of a small craft. And I took a seat underneath a palm tree by the side of the runway, which was actually at the base of an active volcano. Lava had flowed just recently right up to the tarmac, so we were very lucky that it didn't ruin the airport. As I sat there taking in the sights and sounds of an airport runway in the middle of a jungle, I noticed a DC-3, almost a World War II vintage aircraft circling the airport. Circled wide, came in low and landed, taxied, stopped right in front of me, which with its left wing pointing right at me, and killed the engine. The propellers were still turning when the side door came open, and the door was actually its steps, suspended by a cable. And out stepped a young woman in a golden silk dress. And as she stepped into the prop wash, the wind buffeted her, beat her up, sent her long, dark, curly hair into her face. However, she had the presence of mind and strength of character to turn into the prop wash, where it no longer beat her, but rather moved her hair and the fabric out of her way so she could continue unimpeded to the end of the wing. She had the presence of mind when she got to the end of the wing to straighten herself out and collect herself. And as she was about to take a step forward, and she looked up and she saw me sitting under the palm tree. Now, this was perhaps the most beautiful woman on earth, with a presence of mind like no one I had ever observed in my entire life. And the fact that she looked at me made me both happy and full of anxiety. How would I respond to somebody like that? Well, the good news was she smiled at me. And at that moment, of course, as you can imagine, the earth moved, and there was electricity in the air, and then I realized, well, I'm a no one from Kansas City, Mr. Nobody here in the middle of Africa, and here's the most exotic creature on the earth smiling at me. Sean Connery is probably standing behind me, leaning up against his Jaguar convertible. So I turned around and looked, and there was no Sean Connery. It was me she was smiling at. So I gathered up my courage, and I thought, well, this is either now or never. This is truly an opportunity of a lifetime. So I smiled back, I got up, and I went over and introduced myself to her. The good thing was that she couldn't speak much English, and I couldn't speak much French, so we struck it off quite nicely. It was an immediate affinity between the two of us in the middle of nowhere. She was there because her father was the owner of the diamond mines, and he created tremendous goodwill by the electrification of entire villages and bringing of education and health care to facilitate the well-being of the diamond workers. She, being the daughter of this man of tremendous goodwill, was treated very wonderfully by the locals. I, therefore, as her friend, were treated well. Well, we had a chance to chat. We had lunch together. We fumbled along at lunch, and we agreed to meet 3 days later at the Hotel Kivu, a little hotel by the side of Lake Kivu, which is a volcanic body of water. It is rather a body of water in the cone of a volcano. Nothing living because the ash content was so high. She went to Virunga and I to see the elephants. I went to Kivu to spend 3 days in pursuit of the silverback gorilla. We met 3 days later at Hotel Kivu. Needless to say, I was very excited about it. seeing her again. And I remember as I came up to the hotel, there were 2 Land Rovers there. And I could not read the language quite well, but I could tell it was from a television station, and they were filming a documentary going from Cairo to Cape Town. And it looked Italian to me. So these were some enormous, adventurous, a big adventure being filmed right here before my eyes. And as I walked in, I could see the 4 Italian film stars making the documentary surrounding Chantal. And I thought to myself, oh well, there's no competing with that level of glamour or debonair, suave. I thought at least I would go introduce myself to Chantal and say hello again. And as she saw me, she chose to stand up and part the handsome Italians to come greet me. This was a great sign. Our relationship went further. We spent a week together on the shores of Lake Kivu in a deeply romantic experience like none I had had before then. For me, I thought for sure this must be love. I am ready to move back to Paris with this woman, to learn French, to change everything I know, to be with her. However, it was not meant to be. As she prepared to leave, she dumped me in the most poetic manner imaginable. She said in her halting English, she said, "Denis, I like you. I like a lot about you. However, you can't move back to Paris and be with me. We can't be in this relationship because there is too much of you." And I thought, yeah, I'm only 175 pounds at 6'2". What else do you want me to lose? She said, there needs to be less of you. And I thought, well, I don't have that much hair. What do you mean? She says, you know so much about so many things, and you're willing to say so many things about so much and insert yourself in so many ways. There is too much of you there. I would like it if there was less of you for me to deal with. Pick what you are and let the other things go. She says, being French, she was very poetic and artistic. She said, think about music. If it was a clarinet making one sound with no silence in between, it would just be noise. There needs to be more silence between your noises. Or think about a ball of clay. It becomes functional when the center is scooped out. It becomes a cup. Or think about a wall. A wall feels like a prison unless there's a hole in it. And light can come through and connect you with the out of doors. Or a sculptor removing part of the stone so that what is in there can emerge. Someday I hope to see you again after you have removed the stone and something has emerged. But until then, I cannot live with you until there is less of you. And she said goodbye. It broke my heart, of course. It took me years to figure that out. As a matter of fact, I was reading the biography of the company Intel, who was really big in the ROM and RAM business. And they chose to do less so that they could be more. They chose to dump the ROM business and get into the chip business. They couldn't do both. They couldn't be all things to all people and be master of 2 different domains. So they dumped the ROM to embrace the chip, and they are still to this day world leaders. Joe Brandmeier, in his company in 2002, it was a $10 million company. He sold off 70% of it. He cut a big chunk out to invest in ChloraPrep, which he thought had real promise for a surgical antiseptic. Leveraged his house, got rid of a big part of his company. There's a lot less of him then, at that moment, to invest in ChloraPrep. 6 years later, 2008, he sold the company for $490 million. It was a good choice to do less, do it better, so he could become much greater. Tim Kaine, when he was governor of Virginia, sought to boil down all his priorities that he could have focused on to be good at 2 things, education and friendly for business. As a result, Virginia was ranked in the top 2 spots in the nation in each of those categories. It's a tough lesson, but it was a great insight. Chantal was a great teacher in these other companies, as I have observed. Great teachers to me about doing less, doing better, is a pathway to greatness.